All right, finally, we are at the last video for 1.1. So we're moving off from solving a linear equation with fractions to solving a linear equation with decimals. And again, this is step one where it says to simplify. Now, this one is optional. Even the one with fractions was optional too. You can just deal with the fractions and still do all the steps that we did before. But this one I find I do a lot simply because I try to do questions without a calculator. With a calculator, decimals aren't a big deal, but without a calculator, decimals, they're just harder to deal with. So the only thing you have to know is that we can multiply to get rid of decimals, just like we multiply to get rid of fractions. Knowing what power of 10 do you multiply by is the important part. So for example, if you had a question that had a tenth, you would multiply by 10. So 1.2 times 10 would give you 12. If you had a question that had a decimal place in the hundredth, you would multiply by 100 because 0.98 times 100 would be 98. If you had something to the thousandth, what would you multiply by? Well, 1,000. And if you do that, you'd end up with 1,367. So using this property, we can do a question that has decimals and we can get rid of the decimals. So if you look at this question, we have 1, 2, 3 terms. And in each of these 3 terms, there is a 2 decimal place. So this is hundredth, hundredth, and hundredth. So if I was to annotate this, to go from this step to this step, what they did was they cleared the decimal by multiplying by 100. So as long as what you do to one side, you also do to the other side, you can multiply both sides by 100. So you'd multiply every term by 100. So 100 times 0.06 would give you 6x. 100 times 0.09 times 15 minus x. Think of this as 3 times 2 times 5. When you do the 100 times the 0.09, you get 9, and then you've taken care of multiplying by 100. You wouldn't also multiply this by 100. I'm only saying it because it's something that I find students try to do all the time. They don't understand that if you multiply any part of a term, then you don't have to multiply all the parts because then it will kind of multiply through. So we would multiply every term by 100. So we'd end up with 6x plus 9 times 15 minus x is equal to 7 times 15. Now we're just back to a question where the next thing I would do would be to simplify. And then I would keep simplifying. So I would collect like terms. So distribute and then collect like terms or combine like terms, whatever you want to call it. So hard, so hard to write. There we go. Okay, so that's what we did here and here. Then we isolate the x term, right? So we minus 135, we minus 135, and then we isolate x by dividing both sides by -3, and then we get our solution. And what is the solution? Well, the solution would be 10. And I just put a check here just to remind you that if you're checking, always check into the original. You might make a mistake between step 1 and step 2. So if I was to check, I would 0.06 times 10 plus 0.09 times 15 minus 10. Is that equal to 0.07 times 15? And again, we're going to pull out our calculator and we're going to check. So for me, just have to scroll over. Where did my calculator go? There it is. So I've got 0.06 times 10 plus 0.09 bracket, which also means times, 15 minus 10, or I could have just done a 5, and I get 1.05 on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, I have 0.07 times 15, which is going to give me 1.05. Since left side is equal to right side, that means my solution would be 10. Awesome. So I have one more here for you to try. I didn't do it as one where there's a distribution. So we just have 1, 2, 3 terms on the left and 2 terms on the right. So you just have to think about what are you going to multiply by and how are you going to do that. So pause the video, give this one a go. So for me, when I look at this, I have a thousandth, hundredth, thousandth, and a hundredth. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 1,000 to clear the decimals. You would end up with 6x minus 1,000 times 0.02 would be 20x. 1,000 times 0.03 would be plus 30. And then I would have 8x plus 250. Then I'm going to combine like terms, so I get negative 14x plus 30 is equal to 8x plus 250. I'm going to put my x's on the right so I don't have to deal with negatives. So I'm going to add 14x to each side. I would end up with 30 is equal to 22x plus 250. Then I'm going to minus the 250 to isolate the x term. That's going to give me negative 220 equal to 22x. And then lastly, I'm going to divide both sides by 22. So then I get x is equal to negative 10. And again, if I wanted to check, I could just plug this value in for x. I could just do it really quickly without even writing anything down. It's always good to check your work, especially on a test. So we'd have 0.006 times negative 10 minus 0.02 times negative 10 plus 0.03, which gives me 0.17. And then on the right-hand side, I have 0.008 times negative 10 plus 0.25, which also gives me 0.17. So then I could declare that my solution is x equals negative 10. And again, I don't have to declare that it's an identity or contradiction because it's a conditional equation. This equation is true on the condition that x is equal to negative 10. Awesome. Way to finish 1.1. So after this, you go and do the 1.1 questions in the assignment. And then I'm just going to bring this over here. It's not bringing over. Come on. Drag and drop. There we go. So this is 1.1. 1.1 includes all of these 5 videos or 5 topics. And then once you finish 1.1, you will go to the Moodle site. So if I open the Moodle site and I go to chapter 1, you can now do the 1.1 quiz. So after you've done all the practice for all the sections of 1.1, you open the 1.1 quiz. Yours will look a little different. Mine's not set as a student, but you'll go in and there's 4 questions. When you're doing the 4 questions, you answer. Don't forget to check. If you get it incorrect, you just click try again and just don't choose that answer again. If you want to leave a question for a while, you can always scroll through and try all the different questions and then go back and finalize it. You can actually close out of Moodle and go back into Moodle and the quiz will still be there. It won't be done until you click finish attempt. When you finish attempt, that means you've done all 4 questions and you're ready to submit it for marks. And I think it might automatically finish if you do like complete all 4 questions with all the attempts that are required, but I'm not positive on that one. All right, good luck.